This is the 2025 Bentley Bentayga Speed, and yeah, I know what you're thinking. How much faster can a 2.5-ton luxury lounge on wheels actually go? Well, apparently, a lot faster. Bentley's latest Go Fast hauler now accelerates from 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds. That's about as fast as the Ferrari F430. It is not hanging around. And top speed, a trivial 310 kilometers an hour. But here's the kicker. The old W12 6-litre turbocharged engine has been replaced by this, a 4-litre turbocharged V8. This engine does put out more power, but slightly less torque. Overall though, this is a faster vehicle by around half a second from 0 to 100. But let me play devil's advocate for a moment, and I'll put myself in the shoes of a well-heeled Bentley customer. You want exclusivity when you're buying a flagship Bentayga, and that's exactly what a W12 engine offered. A V8 engine, everybody does them. Even the Chinese are making turbocharged V8s now. But this is where it gets spicy. Bentley has added a new sports mode, which tightens up the dampers, dials back all the traction control, and gives you, how do you say, a fully sick drift mode. It gets launch control for the first time, which is good if you want to embarrass supercars at the traffic lights in your $500,000 rolling cigar lounge. And it also has rear wheel steering, which should make it better through the bends at high speeds and might make it a little bit easier to park when you're at the country club as well. And for a bit of theatre, there's this quad pipe Akrapovic exhaust system, something you wouldn't expect to find on a Bentley. And it sounds absolutely fantastic. It's got a bit of snarl to it. It sounds really good on the overrun when you're slowing down, but I'm going to give it a quick blast right now. Let's check it out. So we've got to talk about wheels and brakes here, because the Bentley Bentayga Speed has upgraded them significantly. The wheels, 23-inch for the first time on a Bentayga, so that's a big deal. Bigger wheels, more rubber, more grip. Now the brakes, these are 440mm carbon ceramic discs, which Bentley says are the biggest in the world right now. And what's even better is that you can pick different caliper colors. There are 7 because, yeah, sometimes it's just nice to have a bit of customizability. I reckon this Bentley Bentayga Speed is one of the best looking Bentaygas they've ever built. If you think back 10 years ago when this car first came out, it was not pretty, but the big wheels, the slightly redesigned tail lights, the front end design, the whole thing, plus the optional black roof, gives it a bit more presence, a bit more on-road presence, and I think it's actually aging quite well. Okay, inside the Bentley Bentayga Speed, and it's very much Bentley Bentayga, and this one has been customized with some very interesting blue highlights. I actually don't mind it. I used another one earlier with red. I actually prefer this color. And there are a lot of Speed logos. You've got them on the seats, on the kick plates, on the dash here. You can probably even get them on your coffee cup. I'm sure Bentley will help you with that. And it still very much feels like a high-end Bentley. Yes, this is the high-performance version with the big V8 growl and the drift mode, but it still has that really upmarket deluxe feel to it, that really nice high-end vibe. Comfort levels are naturally very, very good. These seats are excellent. The nice Alcantara finish, a little bit of leather at the top. Plus, they are about 20-way power adjustable, and there's a whole bunch of different massage functions which work really well. So they're comfortable, but they're also supportive. There's pretty aggressive side bolsters here, and the headrests too are surprisingly supple. So you get this really nice mix of sportiness and comfort, and I think it works really well. Okay, so the back seat of the Bentley Bentayga is lovely. Just like the front, the back seats are super comfortable, and these headrests are just so soft. They are sublime. You could definitely have a little rest back here, and it would be really easy with these electric powered and massaging seats, just like the front seats. So you roll forward and then you tilt back, and it is just sumptuous. It is fantastic. And what else is really good about this is the fact that these seats actually have really good bolstering. You know, they're quite contoured, so if the driver decides to go completely troppo, you're still quite cocooned here. You're not going to get moved around too much. It's a really good setup. It's you feel just as sporty back here as you do in the front seats. It's a nice solution. Despite these super comfortable, power adjustable massaging rear seats, this is still technically a 5-seater, so you could haul the entire family around if you wanted to. Plus there's a good amount of amenity too. You've got little touchscreen system down here for the independent quad zone control. There's 2 USB-C ports. There's even more USB-C ports in this hidden compartment here. There's cup holders. There's a little port that goes through to the boot, the ski port if you like. Plenty going on here. It's a good setup. Maybe some tray tables would have been nice, but you know, there's always the extended wheelbase version for that. So hit this button here and bang, up comes the power operated boot. That's pretty cool, fun little feature. The boot itself is actually surprisingly large. You can get some large suitcases in there. You would be able to get a whole bunch of gold bullion if that's your thing. And in terms of price, we don't know yet how much this vehicle will cost. Don't expect much change from about $500,000, so start digging for coins at the back of the couch. All right, now it's time to see how the Bentley Bentayga Speed drives and whether or not it can actually drift. Let's see. Okay, first drive of the new Bentayga Speed, and we are on dirt. We are on the 9,000 acre jumping horse ranch, and this is a brave move by Bentley, especially when you consider this vehicle is riding on big 23-inch rims, and right now there is an epic storm rolling in with some serious lightning. This is wild. Anyway, so we're doing the first part of this drive on gravel because potentially a bit later we're going to test out some of the new drive systems. All right, let's give it a bit of a blast, and a little bit squirrely, but it is getting the power down. The four-wheel drive system is impressive. You can hear all the gravel and the rocks spinning up a little bit. Sorry if the paint job gets a little scratched up, but this thing moves. This can hustle. It makes a good sound too, that V8. So there's a few ground squirrels around. I'm trying to dodge them. They look like tiny little gophers, but this is fascinating. This is almost like taking this big 2.5 ton luxury vehicle on a rally drive. It is literally like a rally stage. It's pretty impressive. We were in sport mode, now we're in Bentley mode, which has raised the suspension a little bit, and that's probably a good thing because this section is a little bit rougher. What's really interesting is even on the gravel, on these dirt roads, how quiet it is in the cabin. There's not a lot of thumps coming through. Okay, we just went over a cattle grid, a little bit of a bump there, but generally speaking, this is impressively refined. All right, so we now have DSC off, and left. And oh, there we go. Yeah, that works. Drift mode indeed. So this is definitely one of the more playful Bentaygas I've ever driven. It doesn't mind getting that rear end stuck in, and that new rear end torque vectoring system can give you a little bit of extra power sliding if you really want that kind of thing. It's look, I don't know how many Bentley owners will actually go for this, but it's fascinating that Bentley has dialed in this drift mode. It shows a courageousness from the company, and having spoken to a few of the executives today, there is customer demand for something sportier, something like this. I'm not sure how many owners are going to be hanging the tail out and power sliding up and down their private roads and driveways, but the fact that it's there is pretty cool, and having a bit of a feel for it certainly makes me think it's not just a slapdash system. They've actually put a lot of engineering into how this works, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we've swapped into a different Bentayga Speed and we're now on the road, and she's got a bit of hustle. Sounds awesome too. Yeah, Akrapovic titanium exhaust, beautiful. And I don't know if you can hear it, but you hear the pops and crackles on the overrun. That's pretty good. One more. Oh, there we go. So yes, the flappy paddles work well, the shifters. The transmission has been tweaked to be a little bit sharper in its shifts. So the idea here is, yes, it's a sportier model. Make it go faster, make it drive a bit better. The steering has been adjusted as well, and there's definitely a feeling that there's a little bit more connection between car and driver. There's a little bit more, the steering ratio is a little bit quicker. And yeah, I mean, this is still a 2.5 ton brute of a vehicle, but yeah, it's got a bit of agility. I don't mind this. We're going through some fun corners at the moment, very progressive. Doesn't mind punching out of them. It's a lot of fun. The four-wheel steering in this vehicle also helps it tip into corners a bit more assertively. It feels as though it's not quite as lethargic. The nose doesn't feel as heavy as perhaps before, or at least in the standard Bentayga models. All right, this is the first Bentayga with launch control, and we're going to give it a quick blast. We're in sport mode. You turn the ESC to medium. Foot on brake, foot on throttle, up comes launch control, and off we go. Whoa, pretty abrupt shifts there. That gets up and boogies. That's pretty quick. I want to say 3.6 seconds or something like that to 100. I can believe it. That's not bad. You know, this is a huge hulking land yacht, and to be able to do that, as well as everything else it does, is rather impressive. So who is this vehicle actually for? Well, the British brand says this vehicle is customer driven. There is demand for something a bit more boisterous, a bit more raw than previous versions, and they think this is going to sell quite well. I guess it's for someone who's bored of their Aston Martin DBX or Range Rover SV. They still want that pace, but they want a bit more Bentley polish. And ultimately, what's not to like about a Bentley that can drift?